listen, I don't want any more bullshit.
Whoa, what's up? Mission fucking accomplished, baby. What is up? What is up, my peoples? Yo, I want to welcome you back, or welcome you for the first time, if this is your first time being here, to the one and only world's famous official bullshit-free Colts podcast, the one and only podcast available to you where you can hear shit you're going to hear nowhere else, where you can hear everything Colts with no coach speak, no PR spin, no political correctness, and most importantly, and y'all already know, 1000% absolutely, completely, positively, no fucking bullshit. I'm your host, Harkon, aka the Bad Boy Genius, at your motherfucking service as always. I will say this again. Mission fucking accomplished, people. Our beloved Colts made the playoffs. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars at home 28-14 and punched their ticket into the 2020 playoffs. And I'm going to go ahead and get this out here right now. Fuck that bullshit false narrative. Fuck the haters, fuck the doubters. They didn't back in. They didn't luck up. They fucking earned it. But before we deep dive down into it, let me take a second to ask you right now to help the channel out and smash that like button. Make sure you hit the like button right now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get all of our notifications when we put out new podcast videos. And then share this with somebody. But above all things, hit that like button. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. It helps YouTube to share our videos with more people because they know that real people who are for real and smart and paying attention are watching our videos, not bullshit bots. All right, so I appreciate that. And if you appreciate what we're doing, you like what we're doing, hit that donate button in the description below. You can just donate whatever you want, $10, $5, even $1. It all helps us to continue to deliver this podcast and to do something going forward into 2021 that many of you have asked me to do over and over, and we're finally going to do that, and that is to provide more content to you guys than once a week. So we appreciate your donations. We appreciate the support that's really been growing. And that being said, I'm going to take a quick second, like I like to do, and just shout out some of the new people I've seen watching the podcast. Alberna86, appreciate you. Satisfied Carpet Cleaning, appreciate you. Of course, my guy Mountaineer Vapes, always in the house. Robin Williams, always in the house. Robin Williams followed us on Twitter. We appreciate that. Everybody that's listening, make sure you hit that button and follow us on Twitter. You can just click the button in the description below. And the reason I'm saying that is because on Twitter is where we can really chop it up, talk back and forth. Of course, you know, this is the Bullshit Free Podcast, and I'm the Bullshit Free Bad Boy Genius Harkon Ajala. So in Twitter, just as here, it's 100% uncensored, uncut, and unfiltered, and we can say whatever we want to say, and I will do that, and you can do the same. So we can chop it up and talk back and forth. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Also, I want to shout out Donald Ansman, Etzel Ferguson, and Colts Fan for Life. Appreciate your support. Appreciate your comments. Appreciate you. All right? But anyway, back to what your Indianapolis Colts just accomplished this year. Don't let anybody talk you out of having a little air in your chest and being proud of it. They're in the fucking dance and they earned it, just like every other team. Don't let anybody blow that bullshit into your mind and make you feel embarrassed or like you should somehow have to apologize for your team getting into the playoffs. Look, the Colts won 11 games this year. They went 11-5, and they earned their way into the playoffs. Yes, they lost to Pittsburgh last week. If they'd won that game, we'd be celebrating a division win today. If they'd won that game, or if fucking the Houston Texans coach, who's been a fucking defensive coach like 40 fucking years in the NFL, I don't understand how the fuck is Romeo Crennel, who, like I said, has been a defensive coach for 40 fucking years in the NFL, how the fuck does his secondary not have a safety in place to keep the fucking Titans from completing an 80-yard pass with like 18 seconds left after they just did all that work to tie the game up? They climbed back into the game. Deshaun Watson was amazing as usual. They do all that work after it looked like the game was over early. The Texans do all that work to climb back in. They tie the game up with like 22 seconds on the clock or some shit like that. And on the first play from scrimmage after they kick the ball off, they allow the Titans, Ryan Tannehill, to throw like an 80-yard bomb pass to A.J. Brown, who's playing his ass off this year. Tannehill's having a great year as well. But they allow him to throw an 80-yard fucking pass, bomb, down to like the 20-yard line or wherever it was, so that they're in position to kick the game-winning field goal with like 12 seconds left. Now, again, I know the Texans' defense is trash, but you have to ask yourself, how does Romeo Crennel, A, have such a trash defense, and B, you don't have a safety covered? I mean, what the fuck is going on there? But you know what? That's besides the point. That's why you don't want to get in that situation anyway, where you don't completely control your destiny. But the Colts lost the fucking Jacksonville game at the beginning of the year. They blew that game to the Steelers, and that's where they found themselves. So I'm not going to sit here and bitch about it. I'm just glad that one of the four teams that needed to lose lost, and the Colts then took care of business and won, beat Jacksonville, which before you get to saying, well, of course they beat Jacksonville. Look, they lost 7 of the last 10 games they played against Jacksonville going into the game yesterday. So trust me, that shit was not a given, no matter how bad Jacksonville looks. And part of that, again, is because they're a team within the same division. Division teams always play each other tough. That's a fact. But whatever the case, the Colts took care of business and earned their way in. Now, the game didn't go as smoothly as we all would have liked to have seen it go. And like I said, some of that's because it's a division rival and Jacksonville's still playing hard and all that other happy horse shit. But there's some reasoning behind that, and we'll get into that later in the podcast as we kind of go through the good, the bad, and the ugly as we always do. But I cannot underscore this or emphasize this enough. For anybody that wants to try to down talk your team with that bullshit false narrative about the Colts backed in or got lucky or don't really belong, make sure you tell them to kiss your fucking insert your racial or ethnic group that is appropriate ass. You feel me? The NFL is tough to win in every week. All the teams are pretty close. It takes a lot of skill, talent, perseverance, hard work, and will to win enough games to get into the playoffs. And every team that does so deserves the recognition and the props for doing it. And my fucking team is in like every other team, and I will not apologize for it. I assure you, if the fucking Washington football team can win their division and get into the playoffs and get a fucking home game at 7-9, and you think they're going to give that spot back? You think they feel bad about it? Fuck no. So I'm not going to be feeling bad about my team. We are in, and interestingly enough, but shouldn't be shocking or surprising considering how 2020 has gone. And, you know, I'm still considering this, you know, the latter part of 2020. The exact team that helped us punch our ticket, the exact team that won and allowed us to get into the playoffs, the Buffalo Bills, is the team we're going to be facing on the road in the first round of the playoffs this Saturday at 1 o'clock. Be there, be fucking square. I will tell you, I will be there front and center watching that bitch. I think it's going to be a great game. I know a lot of people are not giving the Colts any chance whatsoever, and that's all fine and good. I tell you guys every week about the signal and the noise. That's the noise. You know, not that I'm, in fucking la-la land or in some fantasy land and I'm thinking that the Colts should be huge favorites or they're just going to go in there and run roughshod over the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are a better overall team, without a doubt. They're a better overall team this year, but not by a whole lot. Not when the Colts play their A game. If the Colts go in there and play their A game, you better fucking believe they can beat the Buffalo Bills. I mean, some of y'all, people are prisoners of the moment, and recency bias just fucking runs wild. And like I said, Buffalo's a really good team. Josh Allen played great this year, but they're not the fucking New England Patriots dynasty. You feel me? I mean, give me a fucking break. They haven't done anything yet. They won, one more game than the Colts this year? 1 or 2 more games? So they're a good team, but then again, they play in the fucking AFC East. So 4 of those wins came against the Jets and the Patriots, who are trash. And I don't know, 2 others may have came against Miami, who are, playing better, but not a great team by any means yet. So again, spare me the fucking, the Buffalo Bills are the new New England Patriots, and they haven't done anything in the playoffs yet, right? We have every right to be there, and we can play with that team, and we can beat that team. But we're not going to beat them if we play the way we played this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that's concerning because, to be honest with you, that game against the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday was our first playoff game. It was win or go home. It was sudden death. We win, we play next week, which is the playoffs, right? We knew that going in. If we lost, that would have been the end of our season. So that was our first playoff game. And that being said, the uneven nature of how we played in that game is a little concerning. So we're going to jump into that right now in that segment that you fucking love, I fucking love, the whole world loves. You know the name. So, let's talk about what was good, bad, and ugly in this game. This game reminded me a lot of the Steelers game in a lot of ways. And it reminded me, I went back and I watched the first game of the season that we played against Jacksonville. And this game was frighteningly like both of those games. The offense was fucking clicking right out of the bat, right out of the gate. The run game was clicking right out of the gate. Now, I don't have to tell you that fucking Jason Taylor went apeshit in this game. So everything went well starting this game throughout the whole first half, but Jason Taylor was fucking something special. The man's final stats, 253 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. Put him over 1,100 yards for the season, made him the 3rd best running back in the league this year. And I feel like he should definitely be in the conversation for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Not just because of the runs, but the way he pulled them off. The final run, which not only was it a beautiful big-time run, but it was big time because it came in the clutch. The final 46-yard touchdown run he had was a thing of fucking beauty. And I'm telling you, go back and watch it. Watch the video of it. He shook fucking Schubert out of his cleats in the hole, made a beautiful jump cut afterwards, and then just turned on the fucking afterburners and outran everybody. It was a thing of beauty. Shout out to Jason Taylor. I will tell you, the first game I watched him in, I said, this guy is special. He's going to be everything he hoped he would be. And then he went through a lull. He went through a lull there to the point that I was like, man, you know what? Bench this dude and start Jordan Wilkins ahead of him, because he just wasn't seeing the holes. His vision was off. I mean, but I have never really seen a motherfucker come on like he came on over the last 6-7 games. He put himself in very rare company. Put himself as one of the only 3 players to do what he's done in his rookie season in a Colts uniform, and the only other 2 players were Marshall Faulk and Edgerrin James, 2 dudes who were both in the Hall of Fame. So again, this is not just cliche when I say that's rarefied company to be in. Jason Taylor, brother, I take my hat off to you, and you deserve all the accolades that you've gotten and will get this season. And what is scary is when you think about the fact that most players in this league, their biggest jump is from year 1 to year 2. So by next year and the third year even, I'm expecting great things from Jason Taylor. Just imagine how good he'll be a year or 2 from now. So, I mean, I take my hat off to him. There's not much more you can talk about that was great in that first half than Jason Taylor, but the offense was clicking. Hines was making big runs, big catches. Phillip Rivers was looking great. The offensive line was run blocking outstandingly. And you know what? The pass blocking was not very, it wasn't bad either. And that's saying something. Thank God Braden Smith came back. But that's still saying something because the new guy that they literally, picked up off the street like 3 days before the game or some shit like that. I'm sorry, Verdale or something like that. I'm no disrespect, bro. I just can't remember how to say your name. But whatever the case, he stepped in at left tackle and he played decently, actually, for a guy who, he's a veteran, but for a guy who had basically been retired and, doesn't know our plays and all that shit, to step in, he performed admirably. So that whole first half in particular, Jason Taylor's running was outstanding. That was good. When you start talking about the bad, though, here's where things get really fucking concerning. It started right at the end of the first half, the final Jacksonville Jaguars drive. The score is 20-0 Colts. The Jacksonville Jaguars get the ball with, 2-3 minutes left, less than 4 minutes, and Indianapolis goes into that fucking soft zone, and Jacksonville, quarterbacked by the NFL legend who is Mike Glennon, rolls right down the field. He carves it up, and they score a touchdown like right before the half. And it's 27. It gives them momentum going into the half. This is a game they should have been dead in the water in, but that gave them some life. And we saw in the second half the thing that's concerning, and the only thing that's really super concerning for me going into this playoff game against Buffalo. That second half, there was like a difference. It was like a letdown. Jacksonville was moving the ball right away. And the offense, they fucking stalled. I don't really know how else to say it. They just suddenly couldn't do anything. Phillip Rivers didn't look comfortable. Some of his passes were off. He threw a long interception when the Colts were moving the ball, like they were maybe at the 50-yard line or the 45-yard line of the Jaguars, and Phillip threw an interception. T.Y. was open for a touchdown for a couple of seconds, but there was a little pressure on him, and Phillip let the ball go. People say, he couldn't get the ball there. No, it wasn't that he couldn't get it there. It's that he threw it a little too late. So, and, he doesn't have the rocket arm he used to. So he couldn't zip it in there like fucking Deshaun Watson. And, sometimes if you have a cannon arm, a young live cannon arm, you can throw it a little late and still get it there in time for T.Y. to catch it and get the touchdown as it should have gone. If that had happened, the game is, put away at that point and everything's fine. But Phillip threw it just a half second, maybe a second too late, and it allowed the defensive backs to converge, and Jacksonville picked it off in the end zone. Now, the dumbass ran it out of the end zone, which was a bad mistake on his part, so T.Y. was actually able to run out and tackle him on the 10-yard line. But still, that took away points. And it ended up making the game, from there on, really, the game was really tense up until 4 or 5 minutes left when Jason Taylor broke away for the winning touchdown run because the offense just couldn't get anything going, and the defense gave up another touchdown. Now, to their credit, they had, 5, 6 sacks? So they did get to Mike Glennon, but it wasn't like he was under pressure all day. There was still too many times in there where he had plenty of time to throw. And because of that, they were able to score another touchdown, and it was like the Colts couldn't quite put them away. But like I said, credit where credit is due. Let's not super overreact because the defense only gave up 14 points in the game. They only gave up 2 touchdowns, and they didn't allow any other scoring. Okay, but it's the Jacksonville Jaguars with their backup quarterback and missing their top receivers. So that's not good. And like I said, because it appears to be part of a greater pattern, this is really concerning. And it's a pattern of the Colts just letting up something, some intensity, some execution. Something's off in the second half. And a lot of it comes down to 2 things, and this is where I'll get into the ugly of the game. I think it comes down to 2 things from really looking at film. Stephen Holder, shout out to Stephen Holder, man. He does some great work. If you're not signed up to The Athletic, I highly recommend signing up to The Athletic so you can read Stephen Holder and Zach Kiefer's stuff, because they really have some good stuff. But Stephen Holder pointed this out. He said, a lot of you guys are always beating up the Colts secondary, but if you watch the whole game, you'll see that it's not just the secondary. There's more going on. I couldn't agree more, Stephen. And I'm one of those guys who've been guilty sometimes, too, of harping on the secondary. But keep in mind, based on the scheme that the Colts play, one of the reasons that they drafted a guy like Rock Ya-Sin, knowing that he was a little speed deficient and that he was a little grabby in coverage, is because he's an outstanding tackler. And that is what you have to be as a cornerback in this scheme that the Colts play. But because this scheme, let me say it this way. Here's the problem with that. This scheme, the way it's designed to work, is for you to be able to have a consistent and effective and worrying pass rush with only your front 4 guys down linemen, okay? That allows you to, leave more people back in coverage. That allows you to play that bend but don't break, because your pass rush doesn't allow a quarterback to sit back there all the time, and just pick you apart. So it makes it hard for them to get down the field, and it makes it so that they have to check down and throw those short passes. And then you've got great tackling corners and defensive backs who will keep it in front of them, make the tackle. And it makes it so the idea is that you're going to make a team have really long, 10, 12, 13, 14 play drives to try to score a touchdown. And you know that the odds are against them doing that. The odds are with you that you can stop them. They'll make a mistake or you'll make a play during that time. So that's the problem. That's what was ugly about this game, and that's what's ugly about this pattern we've been seeing. It's 2 things. One, that soft zone that the Colts play is trash. But the reason it's trash is because the Colts simply do not have a consistent enough and effective enough pass rush consistently from the edges to force opposing quarterbacks to get rid of that ball quickly and throw it underneath, to check down and throw it underneath. So it gives the wide receivers more time to run around and find the open spaces in that zone. And that leads to, since the quarterback has time to find them, that leads to them being able to complete passes. But it also allows them to be able to get behind your guys and get chunk plays, because they have the time to make the throw and they have the time to get behind you and get open. That shit ain't good. So, I mean, we saw that again in this game. We definitely saw it in that collapse in Pittsburgh. A lot of people wanted to blame Phillip Rivers' play in the second half in this game, and it wasn't stellar. Let me just say that. It wasn't stellar, but it wasn't really the problem. Even the offensive struggles wasn't really the problem. The problem is the Colts defense, once they drop into that soft zone, man, it's just not a good look, and it doesn't turn out well because they're not getting a consistent enough pass rush. I've said this before. DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart are getting mega push. They're playing their asses off up the middle. But on the edges, we're not getting enough pass rush. It was great to see Toure make a play yesterday and get a sack and get some pressure. That's great to see, but we need more of that. And we got to have it consistently with just those four. Otherwise, this is going to be a short, like if you can't get pass rush and on Josh Allen and contain him up in Buffalo Saturday, it's going to be a fucking long day. You feel me? It's going to be a long fucking day. And no matter what, when you get into the playoffs and you're playing the better teams, which means you're going to be playing the better quarterbacks inevitably, go look at the quarterbacks that are in the playoffs. Just look at the AFC, okay? Awaiting you is Josh Allen, Ryan Tannehill, who else? Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's a good quarterback, though. And then, of course, the biggie, that motherfucking freak of nature monster that plays QB for the Kansas City Chiefs. If we're going to the Super Bowl, you got to go through them. You got to go through the best quarterbacks who are going to kill you, pick you apart if you don't get consistent pass rush on him. You ain't going to be able to play no fucking soft zone against Patrick Mahomes, homie. You feel me? So that's the ugly. It's been the ugly this season. It's been the ugly across multiple games. It was the ugly in this game. We're not getting consistent enough pass rush, and our soft zone is trash, okay, because of that. I mean, those two things are interrelated, but still, we're not fucking great in that zone, even with pass rush. So we gotta come up with some shit. Flus, we need you to scheme some shit up and maybe even take a little more risk against Buffalo Saturday, bro, because we got to have pass rush. You got to scheme it up, manufacture it, go into your bag of tricks, baby. But like I said, either way, mission accomplished. We are in the playoffs. This is what it's all about. That's the first goal. We almost had our second goal and won the division. But like I said, I mean, if you're going to fucking depend on the Texans defense to help you win the division, you got a lot of long days coming. You know what I mean? That defense is just trash. But like I said, we're fucking in. We're in the big dance, baby. So I'm not going to complain. I'm excited about the upcoming game against Buffalo. A lot of people are like shaking in their fucking boots over Buffalo. I'm confident and I feel good about it. I'm not saying the Colts are going to go down there and run roughshod on them, but what I am saying is I feel very comfortable and confident that if the Colts go down there and play their A game, they will win. They can and they will win. Fuck it, I'm putting it out there. Now, if they go down there with some old lackadaisical halves, they're going to get ran out of the building. You feel me? Mark my words. If they take off fucking half and get lackadaisical, make mistakes, commit penalties, blow fucking coverages, let Josh Allen sit back there and check his Twitter and play a couple video games and text his girlfriend before he throws the pass because there's no pass rush. If that happens, they're going to go down there and get ran out of the building. But if they bring their fucking A game and play for all 4 quarters, all 60 minutes, to the best of their ability, yeah, they can, and I believe they will win because they should be loose, right? Nobody's really giving them a chance. At any rate, can't wait to see that game. I know y'all will be there. Before we close this out, of course, we got a really good question for you this week in what's become my favorite segment of the podcast. You know what it is, baby. Hard-ass questions. This week's question comes from my man, Mountaineer Vapes. This is a great question. It was one I was like, I really want to take a little time to discuss this on the podcast. So, Mountaineer, the reason I didn't answer your question directly in the comments below on the YouTube video is because I wanted to save it for the podcast. Mountaineer asks, should the Colts re-sign T.Y. Hilton? Let me just tell you, This is a really hard, it's a great question, but it's a hard question. Not so much hard to answer, but the answer to it is hard for me to say. And here's why. Just full disclosure, I'm going to just be real about it. Just to keep it a bean, just to keep it 100, T.Y. Hilton's one of my favorite Colts players of all time. Okay, so I'm just going to put that out there. So the answer to this question, it's not that the answer is hard, but it's hard to give this answer, okay? The answer to the question of should the Colts re-sign T.Y. Hilton is absolutely fucking yes. Unless, and this is the hard part, unless they can score a better number one game-changing wide receiver in the offseason, like through free agency or through a trade. Because, for example, I hear Julio Jones may be on the trading block from the Falcons. You know, in a situation like that, in a situation where you can maybe get a hold of a player like that, maybe you let T.Y. go if, you know, you got to choose between the two of them. But other than that, yeah, and I doubt that that will happen. So I'm going to say unequivocally, yes, they should re-sign T.Y. And I'm not saying that out of emotion, okay? Just keeping it real. The truth is, if you've watched T.Y. over the last 5 or 6 games, he's pretty much looked like the old T.Y. I still see the speed there. It might not be as blazing as the first year he started, but he still has the speed to get behind people. He's still able to get open. He's still a threat to the other team. And probably just as importantly as all of that, the leadership and the attitude and the knowledge and the mentorship and what he means to the locker room. I think they need that. They need that for their young receivers. They need that guy. As T.Y. himself said, you know, Marvin mentored Reggie. Reggie mentored him, so he needs to mentor the young guys. You've got 2 guys there who I think are bursting with star potential. In, of course, Paris Campbell, but also Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. has looked great this year. He has looked like a young receiver. And, of course, he's not been the first option. But also, he's playing in an offense that spreads things around quite a bit. But he's learning. And what I can see is, for one, he's a fucking hell of a blocker. A willing blocker. A great blocker, but also a willing and game blocker. Some motherfuckers, wide receivers, most of them don't like to block. Some of them can block, but they don't really want to. Michael Pittman Jr. is a vicious, violent blocker, which is outstanding. But he's got skills with the fucking ball. He's got deceptive speed. He's strong. You know, when he's next year, in his second, third year, when he's really putting it all together, getting that opportunity to get his rhythm with Rivers or whoever the quarterback is next year, but I'm pretty confident it's going to be Phillip Rivers. And he's learning the speed of the game and how to play in the NFL now. But he's flashed like a motherfucker this year. He's flashed. If Paris Campbell can guide, please guide Yahweh, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, whoever I got to pray to, please let this motherfucker be healthy for the whole season next year. If Paris Campbell can be healthy next year, you get Paris and Michael Pittman Jr. on the same field, and then you've still got T.Y., motherfuckers going to have to pick their poison. They're going to have to pick their poison. And when you mix in, you combine with that Jason Taylor and Nyheim Hines, okay, this offense, if the offensive line stays together and is able to continue to perform and not have any major injuries, this fucking offense can be scary as fuck. But in order for that to all come together, yeah, you're going to need T.Y. You're going to need a number one veteran game changer receiver that not only has the talent and the ability and the skill, but also the experience to play with and mentor the other guys and get them there. Pull out the best in them, teach them how to be a pro, how to play wide receiver in the NFL. So yeah, absolutely. Unless T.Y. Hilton is asking for some astronomical sum, something that's just way outside the market, yeah, they need to bring him back. Because as Chris Ballard has said, not just for his play, but also for who he is and how he affects that locker room. And the fact that he's proven that he deserves it. So yeah, the Colts should bring T.Y. Hilton back. And like I said, not for emotional reasons, but for the only real reason that matters. The football reason. The football reason. But the emotional part is just a very, very fantastic cherry on top. So look, Mountaineer Vapes, thanks as always for the question. I want to thank you, the listener, for being here. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and you know what? I'm going to be fucking locked and loaded in front of that fucking TV at 1 p.m. on Saturday, just like I know you are. Let's go fucking take that first step. And let's go down there and fucking make some hay and beat the fucking Buffalo Bills. I respect them, but fuck them. All right? We put on our pants, cleats, and shoulder pads just like them. We got talent. We got heart and will just like them. We got good coaching just like them. And we can fucking win just like them. So let's go down there and do it. I appreciate you being here as always. And I will say to you, the listener, and to any Colts players, coaches, or front office people who are listening, because I know some of y'all do, let's go out and win another fucking Lombardi, baby. Peace.